then other technology I want to get my hands on is the bridge. But Scratch Live and Ableton made this thing called the bridge. I don't think they've actually released the proper version yet that links them together. Because from what I've seen, you can load basically your multi-tracks of your finished mixes and so all the separates, and then be able to switch from them live, but by controlling it via turntables, which is my medium. As a live performer, I use the turntables, and I'm very comfortable with that. So if I could do that and kind of mute this and bring in the bass line here and let that ride, and then fade up the hi-hats or whatever, and kind of rearrange and restructure, and use effects and like remix my songs live, but with turntables being the interface.
That's interesting.
That is really interesting to me, and I'd be really keen to explore that, as to add another level to my live performance. But for now, when you see a P Money show or a DJ set, it's essentially the same thing. It's me, 2 turntables, and guest vocals.
How do you find that now that you're using Serato? How does that translate, back to your sort of scratch mixing days? You still throwing a lot of that in?
Yeah, the technology has no bearing on it. I think you can pull off all the stuff that I used to do on vinyl with Scratch Live. I don't feel like there's any sacrifice or any shortcomings there.
What about in terms of like mixes? Because you'd be playing up and down the country, and you obviously different mixes have different crossfaders and things like that.
Yeah.
Are you pretty specific about what sort of mixer you want to be playing on?
I used to be so anal about it, bro. I used to be so specific, because I've got to be fair, like a lot of the mixes on the market were not built for my style of DJing, and you couldn't scratch on them to any decent degree because it was just clunky, didn't work. Nowadays, most of the Pioneer mixes have scratch faders, or faders that you can pull off a little scratch. And I get faced with all kinds of things. And the one I hate is the Allen & Heath X-Zone 62, I think it's called. It's a piece of shit. Hate it. If I see that, then I'm like, where's my mixer? You got the contract. I have like 3 mixers in the contract. I have the TTM 57. That's the preferred one because it has the Serato built in. I have the Pioneer DJM 909, which is the 2-channel Pioneer, and I have the Vestax 07, which is the old school, just straightforward 2 channels and a pot, like the little faders for the EQs. Those are the 3 mixes. But pretty much invariably I get faced with the Pioneer, what is it, the 800? Yeah. So I'm using the 800 almost every show, even though the contract specifies all this other shit.
Well, it's still Pioneer.
Yeah, it's still Pioneer. And actually I've become to quite like it because it's got that really simple little filter. You push that button and you can go... And it's a really great way to get out of mixes that aren't working. Next one. Yes. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, mixes. Pretty cool.
So any more at this point? Any more questions?
Have you got any musical background? Play any instruments or any musical theory? Because you said you started playing synth lines in your new tracks.
Yeah.
So is that just stuff you picked up, or is there any training in that?
I don't have any training. Like I didn't learn to play piano or anything as a child, or I never had music lessons, and I didn't really do the music classes in school, and I've never attended a tertiary kind of college like SAE or mains. I've never done any of those things, so you could say self-taught. As far as when I play like lines like off the keys and synth lines for my tracks, it's quite slow and rudimentary, but I can find my way around a keyboard just from trial and error, or like listening by ear, just play. But I wouldn't put myself on a stage and go, I'm going to play my new song. You won't catch me doing that anytime soon. I need to take some lessons before I do that. Yeah.
Any thoughts for the label sort of side of it? Stuff that isn't your productions, releasing stuff.
Oh, through Dirty Records? Yeah, we do. We've released a number of things. The roster is expanded now because we have a management company as well. So releases that I've been involved with would be the hip hop side is Scribe, PNC, and David Dallas, and each of those records have multiple productions from other dudes. I've done very little on the last 3 albums. David's, I got like half of one song. PNC, I did like 2 songs, maybe 1 song. Scribe, I didn't do anything on his last record. Then there's the drum and bass label called Uprising Records that we manage as part of our management company. So that's Concord Dawn, and Bulletproof has put out stuff with them. And we've got new guys soon. Then there's the other ventures we get into, we have a joint venture with Tiki for Tiki Dub. We released his album Past, Present, Future, and I did one track on there. And then we manage the Open Souls as well, but they have their own label, so we kind of just help them to manage their the band basically. So yeah, it's a diverse range of talent and artists that we work with and release their recordings.
And with your move into sort of houseier or poppier stuff, would you be looking to find other artists in a similar vein, or is it just keeping more to the hip hop?
Yeah, I mean, if somebody stood out, if I heard music from a producer or an act that, you know, was in the dance world that I thought was amazing and was something special, by all means, I'll be, you know, trying to sign them up or put their music out. But as it stands, no one's really standing out right now today. But they could all change tomorrow. You know, you hear music every day. Yeah.
Which Tiki song did you do work on?
I did a song called "Music Has Saved Me."
Right.
Yeah, on the album. I did the beats for that. It was kind of co-production, really, because I gave him the main groove and the bass line, the drums, like kind of 75% of the track. He added his vocals and guitar, and then he mixed it. Yeah.
Is there a place in New Zealand hip hop for people that just make beats but don't want to produce? As in, do the stuff with the singers.
With
and
vocals?
yeah,
Just instrumental?
Just like make a beat on an MPC, whatever, and go, here you go. People can make records if you like the beat. Do something with it.
Sure, yeah, there's a ton of people that work that way. Yeah. I'm probably exaggerating. There is a handful of people that work that way. The industry's just not that big, so you gotta be realistic. But no, there's a number of dudes that make beats at home, and they'll have like files and files and files of beats, and they'll give me a CD of 30 beats, and I'll pass it on to someone, and then that turns into a song, and then I end up maybe doing the producer role and turning that beat, that sketch, into a song. I've done that plenty of times, and some of those people, you know, they start off working that way, and then as they start getting more placements and more songs get completed to their music, they want to be more involved in the process, and rightfully so, and they start to learn more and get more involved. Fire and Ice are a good example. They produced most of David Dallas' last record, but they weren't really in the studio every day for every song, but then for certain songs they got more involved, you know? So yeah, they're kind of making that step, that transition from just being a beat maker who provides a track to being a producer who finishes the whole song.
And you're interested in hearing more new people who do that?
Sure, man. I just like hearing beats. I'm a big fan. You know, I have like my iTunes is full of instrumentals as well as songs. You know, like checking out the beats. Yeah, if they're good, you know, it's cool.
So do you think the new guys sort of coming up at the moment are in New Zealand hip hop then?
New Zealand, like beats wise, yeah. That kid Has who does the stuff for Homebrew. Yeah, I think he just goes by Has Beats, and he has an alias, Goonie Hodges. It's a good name. Basically, Fire and Ice I mentioned, they've been floating around for a few years now. Still reckon they're like some of the best. Like they just pick the great samples and really, really musical. Without writing anyone off, I can't think of anyone else at the moment that's really standing out. There's a kid Official who did some beats a while ago that we used, and he comes up with the goods every now and then, but I just haven't heard anything from him in ages. It's kind of thin. I think there's just not as many that kind of spark my imagination. I'm sure there's tons doing it. You know.
Are you still having heaps of people contacting you though about it? It's just that it's. I'm just thinking, is it like say there's not individual people popping out, but are you getting heaps of stuff sent in all the time?
Yeah, I get contacted a fair bit. I think I'm reasonably accessible online through like social networks.
Yeah.
So like SoundCloud, people drop me a line and go, hey, check out my beats, or Bebo used to be a nightmare. I'm glad that's quieting down. I hated Bebo. Fuck. It was just too out of hand, man, because you just get every man and his dog who's just installed Fruity Loops and made their first 4 beats, and they're like, yo, check out my beats, man. I need to be on your label. Scribe's gonna rap on this shit. It's hot. I listen to it. It's I'm like, bro, seriously, okay. You know how long I've been doing this, man, and you just started today. Don't think all your dreams kind of come true overnight. But then again, there are some people that do that, and then you hear them like 3-4 years down the track, they're still doing it. I'll be more inclined to listen to them then, because I'm like, well, at least you stuck at it.
Yeah.
And it's not just, hey, I just oh, this is fun.
Yeah.
Let me get
I'm
into
gonna do
that.
that. Yeah, this is my hobby for
I
the
want to
week.
get in there. It's my hobby for the week, man. I'm awesome at music, and then next week they're into something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heaps of time wasters out there. Eh? It's crazy.
Sweet. Well, I guess I mean the last question then is for guys now getting into it, be it in production and side of thing. Any last bits of advice of how to get going?
Yeah, man, just do it. You know, make music and make as much as you can. Yeah, that was one thing I read when I was quite young. Was actually the line was it was relating to like guitarists and songwriters in that world. And it was like record everything you write. Now in this era, it's basically just save everything you create. You know, on your computer. If you're mucking around making a little beat or composing a melody, save it, save them all, and then do another one. And just the more work you do, the better you get. Practice makes perfect. They're all old adages, but they all hold true. You know, so be prolific, study, learn from the masters. You know, meaning listen to great records and listen to them closely, and try and figure out what they are doing to make their records sound that great.
Yep.
And then apply those lessons to your own records, and be original. Yeah,
Cool.
that's it.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Cheers.